right, we're going to do the second part, and finally, we're going to get to the title today. So, last time we were talking about the Stargate, and let's go back and review just briefly what the Stargate is all about. And it's kind of hard to understand, but in a way that it is being phrased, uh, it makes it easier for us to have a conception of what a Stargate is. So the requirement to open a Stargate to a man's size 6 foot in diameter is the ripping open or the collapsing of the containment field of the plasma, which is behind a magnetic door. Just that alone just blows your mind, right? One of the hidden secrets of all the fusion projects is to understand how to open and close under human control the magnetic doorways which guard the different radio frequency cavities in the core of the Earth. Now, these cavities comes in two main types: standing waves and traveling waves. In standing wave cavities, the electrical field stay in one place, while in traveling waves, the fields move forward. Both types help particles gain energy, making them faster. Now, Native Americans follow prophecies and look up to the skies, planets, stars, the heavens, and the spiritual world. Their medicine man or shaman can trigger energies and change physical forms at will, activating points in the universe by special technique and practices. They can open these targets and travel through time just like a regular person go to the store. People in religious sectors all across the world know that these doorways open up and they can travel freely from one dimension to the next. It's a real wide system, and each one of them has its own ritual and actually can talk to entities. That's where it starts to get interesting. When they go there, they know exactly where they are. They call them places of payment or ritual places where they meet the gods. Some of them are half human and half animal beings, like the Egyptian god Horus with the head of a falcon, and Thoth with the head of an ibis. Now, in Galatians 4:3, we read, "Even so, when we were children, we're in bondage under the elements of the world." And in Colossians 2:8, "Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of man, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ." In both cases, the phrase elementary principle of the world is from the Greek word stoic, which means, according to the Strong Concordance, heavenly bodies. So the orbs and alien that people are seeing are those very heavenly bodies. They, and we are going to find out who they are operating within the boundaries and constraints of the universal laws that govern our physical realm, and maneuvering within the realm and sphere of our existence, utilizing every known and available particle components from the lowest, most primitive, to the highest, most complicated, and advanced level, manipulating down to the most intricate detail within the spectrum of the particle world of quantum mechanics, then manifesting themselves as quantum particles of a larger scale. Now, that definition is the why, that is, that they are deceptively masquerading as craft, i.e. UFOs, or mythological creatures. And it is from our ancient past, both angelic and fallen angel beings can utilize this technology. The pertinent question that all of us have to ask ourselves is, where are they coming from? How many of them are here? What are they doing? And what is their intent? What should concern all of us, because that should concern all of us, better said, because it's all about the fallen angels' endgame. Whether you want to accept the fact that they're aliens from another planet or interdimensional beings from a spiritual world or another dimension, separate and distinct from our physical world, the grand deception is the same. The greatest in mankind history is coming into play to a theater near you. When it comes to the belief of the common man, aliens created them and are coming back. The Prometheus factor, if you will. We have just begun to see the beginning of the avant-garde of the total alien infestation, AI for short, of planet Earth. The gates of hell have been opened. What do you know? They are now in 2026 filming a new Stargate series. Are they trying to tell us something? I will let you be the judge. Now, for the title of those teaching, it is the first eternal civilization of the heavenly Elohim. The first eternal civilization of the heavenly Elohim. We all know the first verse of the Bible by heart, probably. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, declaring absolute power and perfect creation. Yet, in the next one, we are plunged into chaos, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. How can that be? Why would a perfect God create an imperfect, broken earth and universe? What if he didn't? And the true whole story we've been told for 6,000 years is missing its most crucial history. The silence between the two verses is not emptiness. It is a chasm of the forgotten heavenly civilization, hiding an account of history so catastrophic it had to be removed from us. A record of worlds that existed long before Adam ever walked in the Garden of Eden. It was called the Golden Age. That includes all the legendary places, whether Atlantis, Lemuria, Mu, or Delindia. By the way, what is the motto of the Trump administration? The Golden Age of America. This is not a fairy tale, but a truth, pieced together from clues left behind in all the major past civilization, as well as the Apocrypha or forbidden texts and cryptic passages of the prophets. Jeremiah speaks of a ruined world with no man in it. Ancient rabbinic traditions whispering of a pre-Adamic race, beings given dominions over our original solar system, whose destruction was so great, it shattered creation itself. This knowledge changes everything we thought we knew about the fall of man. This truth has been intentionally hidden for our protection. A divine secret that redefines Adam not as a first beginning, but as a divine restorer. A second start, if you will. In a world already lost in an eternal cosmic war, the Bible barely dares to mention. The perfect world of Genesis 1:1, followed by the destroyed world of Genesis 1:2, theologians called the gap theory. A desperate attempt has been made, without success, I might add, to explain the chasm between perfection and chaos. But it isn't a theory. The scars left behind all the planets of our solar system and the destruction of some of them by an event so monumental that its full story was deliberately blotted out from the sacred text. The evidence of his gap has been hiding in plain sight. Let's consider God speaking to Job out of the whirlwind in chapter 38. Where was thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Who were those morning stars, princes, and eternal kings, these mighty sons of God, long before Adam had been formed? These heavenly hosts, witnessing the first creation, saw it all. But their joy did not last. The prophet Isaiah and Ezekiel gave us terrifying glimpses into what happened. And we're going to read Isaiah 14, 4 to 24. Isaiah 14, 4 to 24. Thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Now the same golden city, great city, similar to Revelation 21:15. The Lord has broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke and hath ruled the nation in anger is persecuted and none hindereth. So you can see there was more than one ruler attached to that world. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fir tree, now they're not regular trees, but you're talking about beings. The fir tree rejoiced at thee, and the cedar tree of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no fellows he come against us. Hell beneath is moved to meet thee at thy coming. He stirreth up the dead from thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. He has raised up from their throne all the kings of the nations. So you can see there were kings and nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy voice. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, and I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the side of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the cloud. I will be like the Most High. Now, his verse 14 is really interesting and telling. Even though he is the father of liars that we know, because it's written about him, for once he's speaking the truth. What he really says is he could only be a lesser representation of the Most High, since he knew he was a created being. Here is the underlying truth. He's admitting that he is powerless before his creator, yet bound to be his adversary no matter what until his final judgment. Verse 15. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man? Which mean mortal, frail, and feeble, that made the earth to tremble and did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the city thereof, and opened not the house of his prisoner. What? Prisoner? In other words, he was ruling as an absolute tyrant, what God has given to him. All the kings of the nation, even all of them, lie in glory, even everyone in his house. But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, as a remnant of those who are slain, thrust through with a sword that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden underfoot. Thou shalt not join with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoer shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. See, their fathers, they're ruling as well with Satan. That they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name, a remnant, and son, and nephew, saith the Lord. I will also make it a possession for the bitterness, pools of waters, the great flood, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction. The besom is a broom. God is going to get the dirt out, saith the Lord of hosts. The Lord of hosts has sworn, saying, surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass. As I have purpose, so shall it stand. Now in Ezekiel 28, 11 to 19, Ezekiel 28, 28 to 19. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation for the king of Tyre, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord God, Thou sealest up the sum, full of wisdom, and perfect in beauty. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and the gold. Now these are similar to the high priest of the Old Testament. The workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in a day that thou wast created. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have said thee so. Thou was upon the holy mountain of God, thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Thou was perfect in thy ways. Now, this is here where everybody missed it. He was perfect in his ways. The Hebrew number is 1870, which means a road as trodden, figuratively a course of life or mode of action. It is from 1869, that means to tread, by implication, to walk. So he was made perfect in a way that he was going to walk, but he didn't walk the right way, the way of the Lord. By the multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled the midst of thee with violence. Thou hast sinned. Now that's a Hebrew number 2398. Properly means to miss, by interference, to forfeit, lead astray, condemn, bear the blame, harm he hath done, offend. Boy, that's a bunch of sin right there. Therefore will I cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stone of fire. Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted by wisdom, by reason of thy brightness. Who else was corrupted by wisdom? Don't we know somebody else? I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuary. And sanctuary means a consecrated thing or place, especially a palace. By the multitude of thy iniquities, by the iniquities of thy traffic, therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of thee. Now here's the interesting thing. Hell started in Lucifer and has enlarged herself and hath opened her mouth without measure today. It shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee. And all they that know thee among the people shall be astonished at thee. Thou shalt be a terror, is he not? And never shalt thou be any more. So, what are those two sets of scripture really saying? He was in Eden, the garden of God. This was not Adam's Eden, but the original celestial paradise, and its anointed protector fell because iniquity was found in him. This was not merely a spiritual fall, but a cosmic eternal war. And the galaxies and universes were its battlefield. The rebellion of the cherub that covereth brought a third of the angel with him, which God said are innumerable, plunging creation into ruin, turning it into the dark chaos we are told in Genesis 1:1. That story was written, then hidden from us. Why? The history of its magnificent rulers and cataclysmic fall was deemed too terrible, too complex in the light of the simple narrative of Adam's sin. It was a truth concealed to protect us until now. The evidence was not misplaced by time, it was removed. For millenniums, we have trusted the Bible to be the complete and utter final word of God. But the real truth is far more complex. The ancients, whoever they were, be councils or scribe, made the difficult choices of what would form the canons and what would be discarded, labeled as apocrypha or hidden writings. The question we must ask ourselves is why? What truth so dangerous that he had to be buried? The answer lies in the traditions that predates the Christian church. Ancient rabbinic commentaries like the Midrash whisper a profound secret that God created and destroyed several worlds before he created ours. This was not a failure of God, but a testament of his divine mercy and long patience. Now you have to remember that these were physical planets ruled by spiritual principle by the sons of God that ultimately brought chaos to them. This knowledge was guarded, deemed too complex for simple understanding of sin and redemption. It was much easier and cleaner to start with Adam's uncomplicated, cleaner story, but not the whole story. These allusions are given form in text, like the Book of Jubilees, sometimes called the Lesser Genesis. This ancient work was considered sacred by many early Jewish and Christian fathers that present us a history of creation told from the perspective of an angel, revealing a period that began long before the seventh day of Genesis. It speaks of the classes of gods, celestial beings, and eternal kings who existed at the first creations, whose responsibilities and subsequent failures were directly tied to the corruption of the physical world. This was not just a spiritual fall in heaven, but an event that left God's perfection or perfect creation broken, void, and covered in water and darkness. Genesis 1 wasn't the beginning of the story, but of restoration. So why did God not restore all the planets while some of them are still missing? Well, I'll give you the answer at the end. Apart from Earth, space is approximately minus 455 Fahrenheit. What does that tell you? It's cold as hell is hot. The deliberate exclusion of his accounts protected a plain narrative, but it cost us the true scale of God's redemptive plan. The story of Adam is about the first act of divine recovery and reveal the true nature of evil. He was meant to overcome as a son of God. So what did those lost worlds look like? Before the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, there were solar systems teeming with life, but not as we know it. This was the jewel of God's first creations, ruled by God's like beings with power and wisdom. These celestial sons of God who shouted for joy at its foundation, as well as the planets of the new solar systems, they were not men of flesh and blood, but appointed governors of a spiritual kingdom made manifest, tasked with maintaining a perfect harmony between the heavens and that creation. It was an age when the veil between realms was thin enough that God's glory shone directly upon his creation. But God's perfect order was not to last. The rebellion began in the heart of the morning star, the anointed cherub that covereth, meaning he was in charge, and did not remain peaceful. He spilled over onto the physical realm. His pride became contagious, a spiritual plague that infected a third of the angels. And the very dominion he was meant to protect, he lost. Therefore, this was the first great war, a spiritual conflict so violent that its waves tore through the fabric of reality. The harmony was shattered. The perfect frequency of creation was thrown into chaos and dissonance. It was an act of cosmic treason, aimed to unseat God and what he had made perfect. The result of this world is described with chilling precision in Genesis 1:2. The earth became without form and void. This was not its original state. This was the aftermath of the cataclysm. Now, the deep waters that cover everything were not the primordial soup that scientists are talking about. They were the remnants of a divine judgment, a cosmic flood meant to cleanse the wreckage of the first corrupted worlds. Remember what God said in Isaiah 14:23? I will sweep it with the broom of destruction, meaning he was going to remove the dirt that had settled on his perfect creation. The prophet Jeremiah and Isaiah saw a vision of the exact same that I will describe in the next teaching.